visiting with George and Mavis. George was a fireball whenever he got to the convention. It was like a racetrack. And he found all the good pieces, and he's found a lot of pieces in his life. And I think George is known for having some of the top pieces in Carnival glass, and maybe he's sold a few of them along the way, but he's had many pieces of Carnival. Been a tremendous asset to the collectible, the Carnival glass collecting. And we appreciate them coming and sharing their glass and his knowledge and probably Mavis's knowledge with us today. We asked him just to come down and give us some of his experiences, and maybe they're a little bit better than Whitley's, and anyway. But I know that you probably won't make some of the comments that Whitley makes at times either. But anyway, we're going to turn the program over to George and Mavis and let them give us their experience that they've had in the past, and I know that we will all enjoy it very much. Also, this is their 51st wedding anniversary. I don't know whether it's Saturday. Will be Saturday, and I know that George will probably want to buy Mavis a nice piece of glass at the auction for her 51st anniversary. She's already has it picked out and circled on the sale bill. So anyway, they have probably spent more anniversaries at the Hoga Convention than they've spent anywhere else in their lives. So again, we appreciate them coming and appreciate their the experience and their effort, and we'll let you give us the story, George. We're gonna. I'm gonna pin you up right here.
Just hold that.
You can put it on your belt.
Got her. Is it ready to go?
It's ready to go.
Okay, me.
I'm going to talk into George's shirt for a minute here. We appreciate all of you coming. We really appreciate your attendance today. And as Bob said, it's kind of become a tradition for us to spend our anniversary at the Heart of America Carnival Glass Convention. And I think maybe I've missed 2 conventions, George maybe 1, which was 2 years ago when he was in the hospital because he was so sick. So that year we had to share our cake with the nurses at St. Vincent's Hospital, which wasn't nearly so much fun as it is to be here. And this year when Bob called and invited George to do a few of his little glass stories, he was really excited about doing it. And the Bible tells us that a merry heart doeth. Now I'm lost my train of thought here, but it's, in other words, laughter does your heart good. And there's no place that you can really laugh more than you can when you're with your friends. And we consider all of you our friends, and we thank you so much for coming. And this won't take long.
And you heard her say it won't take long. That was that. As most of you probably know, that I'm battling cancer. And that's not the bright side of life at all, but when Bob called and asked me to be speaking on these things, I thought, well, that's really nice, and does he know how sick I am? So I couldn't promise him that I would be here, but I got such a thrill that somebody still believed in me a little bit. And so I'll do the best we can. My jokes, I forgot them. They're all, and thank heavens for that, eh? The only thing as you notice, through this chemotherapy, actually is the truth, but through this treatment I've been under, I lost part of my teeth. But I told Mavis, it reminds me of a story I heard a number of years ago where this guy stopped at a pharmacist, and he said, my wife, no, he said, have you got something for a toothache? And the guy drew back and hit me right in the mouth, knocked out 4 of my teeth. And I said, what'd you do that for? And he said, well, you said you had a toothache. Do you have one now? And I said, no, but I never did have one. My wife was in the car, and she's the one who's got the toothache. So, anyway, and for you folks that wear a hearing aid, I don't know I wear one in a lot of trouble. The doggone things you can't hear with them, and things you want to hear you can't hear, and things you don't want to hear you do. But I did luck into one, and I mean, it was really a good one. This thing, I don't miss anything anymore. And what kind is it, Mavis?
What kind is it?
Oh, it's like 10 after 4. Oh. I went to church here a couple of Sundays ago, and this kind of chunky lady sitting right in front of me. We all get up during the worship service, the first part of our service. She had her dress got kind of caught up in her area of her staticky. And so I reached down, being a gentleman that I am, and I pulled the dress out. She turned around, she slugged me. I thought, well, that was a terrible thing to do, so I reached down and pushed it back in. And she slugged me again. So, what else would I have here, honey? Oh, that's about it. And thank heavens that's about Carl. I got to tell about Carl. Carl was having trouble with his hearing, went to the doctor, and the doctor told him, he said, my gosh, Carl, Carl Schrader, he said, you have a suppository stuck in your ear. And Carl said, no wonder I can't hear. He said, so now, where are you at, Carl? Is he here? Yeah, there. So Carl he has to kind of sit like this now to listen to hear you. They'll tell you where he put the hearing aid. That's enough of that corny stuff. Thanks for laughing. I got quarters in my pocket for every one of you. Carnival glass has been a beautiful thing for us. I say us because something we've all enjoyed together. It's not something that I went out and done and she stayed home and watched the kids. We've done these things together, made our friendships together. And we've been collecting. We started collecting in July of 1965. And so that's a good long time. And a lot of people I've talked to, I collected in 1961, but then they quit in 1962 and didn't get back till 2000. But we've been collecting steady since 1965. And it's been a joy. And Bob asked me to talk about some things that we had and how we found them, and prices is okay too. I don't care because it doesn't affect what it is today. But one thing, years ago, and I don't remember the year anymore, but it was at the convention. ICGA was at, I think, St. Louis. No, not St. Louis, Louisville, Kentucky. And I had an aqua opalescent grape and cable pie crust edge bowl that I had picked up for $40 and sold it to Carl Geisler for $90. And one day I'm thinking, I wonder if he still got that doggone bowl. And because why'd I sell something that pretty? So we went down to Carthage, Illinois, where he lived, and had Steve Morrow had been in his home. A few people haven't. He had stuff all piled up in his attic. It was dusty, but boy, he had Carnival glass in there, I'm going to tell you. And so had these bowls just literally piled, stacked on one another. And Mavis went looking through the bowls, trying to find that good luck bowl, or grape and cable bowl, and came across this aqua opalescent strawberry bowl. And I think to date, the second one known, Tom? Second one ever reported. And you can put under the light, honey. And it's just, there you go. And I've never heard of another one other than Tom found one here a few years ago. But he had these bowls. How much is it, Carl? $165. Then he had another. Where's the other bowl at? That Millersburg bowl.
In the display room.
Oh, that's okay. That was another one. But everything was $165. So we bought 3 of the most beautiful pieces of Carnival glass. Each of them $165. But it came out of an attic in Carthage, Illinois. So we got that thing. So it's worth a few more dollars today. It's worth a lot more dollars today. The second piece is a Adam's rib. Adam's rib. There's no big deal in how I found it. I just think I brought it along. It was so pretty. And I've never seen another one, but I guess they're around. But I just got it out of a shop in Jefferson, Wisconsin here, I don't know, 3 years ago. And I'd never seen one before, so I thought it needed the lid. So they had a price on it, like $100, something like that. And I said, what about the lid? Well, we don't have a lid with it, but for that you can have it for $50. So then I find out it never had a lid. So that was pretty good. Okay, that one right up there, honey. This compote shouldn't use the word proud, but I'm proud to have that piece. That came out of the Millersburg family. Millersburg Glass Factory family. Sam Fair, who a lot of people are so into Millersburg, owned the glass factory at one time. And when he passed away, it went to his son. And his son had a son named John Fair, and folks who have been down there, you know, John Fair owned that furniture store right across from the courthouse courthouse, I meant to say. And it was in the window on display, and I bought it, and then I started tracking it down where it came from. And I was real proud to have it, because we're the first family out of the Fair family that had to own that compote. Well, then I was going to do a talk on it one time, and I called down there at the furniture store. I didn't know John had passed away. He's only 53 years old and died of a heart attack. And I got all this information on that piece. But I always thought it was kind of neat, because that's where I got all the information was. That one there. Huh?
What is the pattern?
What's that whirling leaves? Not whirling.
Wild?
Wildflower. I don't know. I'm all surprised. I had to let Mavis do this. I don't feel so pretty good. Bear with me.
Which one?
That's fine. There's a lady up in Madison, Wisconsin area that had a few pieces of Carnival. And she told me about another lady out by Portage, Wisconsin that had a few pieces of Carnival glass. So I went out to her place. And it was so stinking cold. And they had this they had like a little family room, had a fireplace in it, but no fire burning. And it was ungodly cold. And I'd bought about 3 things from her. And then I noticed in her china closet was this, is that Sapphire, Tom? Sapphire blue bowl. And I tried to buy it for $150 I offered her for it. And she said, no way. So, but since it's too cold, I'm not dealing anymore in glass. You can come back when it's warm. So then I waited till July something. It was 130 degrees. I couldn't have got a hotter day. And I went back to see her, and she told me, she put me out on the porch overlooking this little lake that they had, and she brings the bowl out to me. And she said, by the way, she said, since you were here last January, she said, I've done some research on that bowl. And that's a cobalt blue, and I won't take less than $220 for it. So that's how that one came to be. The tornado vase, there's no big story behind it other than I thought it was so doggone pretty. And that belonged to Mary Elizabeth Collier. And when she sold her collection here a number of years ago, I think I sent Judy a copy of that, didn't I? Of her auction. And that was in there. It's just, you know, a blue tornado vase. And but I paid $450 for it. And I don't know what it's worth today, but to me it's an absolute beauty. But I didn't, like I said, there's no big story behind it. I raised my hand at an auction and I bought it. The next piece over is a peach opal orange tree hat pin holder. I've never heard of another one. And I got that by helping someone else. I got a phone call from Coshocton, Ohio, my Helen Bland. And she had a hot-star and feather, we call Whimsy. They took the rose bowl and pulled it onto Whimsy. I think it's in Marie McGee's book, a green one. And so I couldn't afford it. It was $4,000 at the time, and I couldn't afford it. So I called Jack, and he could afford it. So we went down to pick it up, and I went in the house, and there that thing sat. So, and he better not had any interest in that. I broke his neck. But anyway, I was able to buy that. So the thing, by helping somebody else, I was able to help myself. Because I got something I really wanted that I really was happy to get, where I wouldn't have gotten it if I wasn't trying to help him. So, next one is a marigold Peter Rabbit plate. And that came out of a little town out in northern Wisconsin, a town called Tomahawk, from Loretta's Antiques. And the lady told me that she knew about it, but she said, you can't buy it. It was a picker that knew about it. She said, you can't buy it, she won't sell it. So I told my brother-in-law about it. He was going on vacation, him and Mavis' sister. And I told him where it was at, and he went in to see her, and she said it was very rare, and that she wouldn't sell it. And Grant said, well, if you wouldn't sell it, what would you have to have for it? She says, $20. Grant says, I shook so bad. And then he says, then I wrapped it up and put it under my arm. And he said, I squeezed him so hard, the little bunnies pooped on me. Get rest for a second. Don't ask me to do this again, Bob. I'm in pretty bad shape. The corn vase. Aqua opal corn vase. I think that one, it hasn't got the world's best iridescence. I've got another one at home that's prettier. But that one, I run an ad in the paper, a local paper wanting to buy iridescent glass or whatever, years ago. And so this gal called me and she said, well, I don't have any glass, but any Carnival glass, but my dance instructor does. The lady was teaching her dance. So I went over to the house to see the lady, and she wouldn't let me in the house. But standing in the doorway, I could see the thing sitting in the china closet. I just about had a heart attack that she had that aqua opal vase. So I tried 3 or 4 times to get in there, and she would never let me in the house. So one day, it was about 100 below zero, which that was about in July, I think, somewhere in that area where we live. Knocked on the door, but kept my coat in the car. And I feel they're going to feel sorry for me, sure as all get out, and let me in the house. And it worked. She says, you must be cold. And I said, I am. Could I come in? She says, sure. So anyway, after a little negotiating, I was able to buy that corn vase. So that's how that came to be. The little spittoon, I'll leave that one set for now. Yeah. The next one is that chop plate and peacock at the urn in Northwood. I guess there's another 1 or 2, I'm not sure. I haven't seen them. But when Ray Wishart had his auction, Mavis didn't get to go because we had she was just a baby, wasn't she, honey, or something? And Mavis, so Mavis couldn't go. And I told her she couldn't go. So Carl Schrader, we doubled up, we went. And Carl bought, I think, a good Frolic and Bears water pitcher? Carl Schrader.
Ask Carl, I wasn't there.
Huh?
I said, ask Carl, I wasn't there.
I know, I wouldn't let you go. But anyway, we came home and that plate, a guy by the name of J. O'Donnell was carting it around at a convention. He was from New York State at that time, and he couldn't get a buyer for it. He was asking $1,400, and nobody would take it. Well, one day I was coming home from work, and I thought, I wonder whatever happened to that doggone plate. So I come home, and I made a few phone calls from a few people that knew him in this hobby, and they said he died. Well, I didn't want to hear that. So anyway, I called another person and said, no, he didn't die. His friend passed away. He lives in Miami, Florida. So I called him. He said, no, it wasn't going to be for sale. You know, he wouldn't sell it. And we come home from Ray Wishart's auction that day, and Mavis meets me at the door and says, guess what? I bought that green plate today. But we were gone. He called. Mavis answered the phone, obviously, because I made her stay home. And she bought that plate, and for a tidy sum of $400. Trying to get $1,400 and sold it to Mavis for $400.
How long it took to get it?
About 6 weeks. And she had it up he'd put it up in a root cellar up in Connecticut. And the lady, he hadn't seen it for a long time himself, and the lady that lived up there didn't feel like getting it out and unpacking and shipping it to us. And finally it came, wrapped in a shoebox almost. Remember that? It's when it ever made it through. But $400, yeah. Let's see. This little vase up here, no big deal other than it's a one of a kind. And how I got that years ago, Rose Presnick she was putting out books, and that vase showed up in one of her books. And Eleanor Conley was the lady's name from Parkersburg, West Virginia, had it. Rose Presnick drew that drew her picture from that vase. So I called this Mrs. Conley, and she should sell it. She said yes, she will. Then she writes a note with it. She wished she'd never sold it. $295. But I got it because I called the lady that her name was in the book. You know, that Rose Presnick had drawn that piece from this Eleanor Conley. Excuse me for my nerves, folks. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can here.
You're doing good.
The corn husk vase. That's a good story. John Woody had an auction in Effingham, Illinois, and it was a collection that belonged to Neil Markham. And I don't know if any of you folks were there back then. Okay. And remember the old gent sitting in the front? And Cooley Miller was telling him what to buy and these one things that he bought. And so we were sitting in the very back row, and these two people came in from John's coin shop, and they said they had, Woody said, there's some people that have one of these, just these. So I went up and talked to him and asked him, I said, do you have it? And he said, yeah, it's in the trunk of the car. So I went out and looked at it, and I had to have it, and I bought it for $1,900. And so anyway, here about 2 years ago, I guess it was, I was going to do a talk on that crazy vase. So I called this lady from John's Coin Shop, and she said, do I, I don't know if I still had it. Yep. Where'd you get it at? Well, she was doing a flea market. She dealt in coins, and a guy came in and had some things at his home he wanted to sell. So she went out to his house, and she was able to buy that. Well, when I called her here, I said, have you ever found any more glass that good? And she said, well, yes, I did. She said, a young man came in just outside of East Alton, Illinois, and he found a Aquopal Poppy Show plate, 25 bucks. And he didn't take it. He thought it was too much money. So she said, well, why don't you call John Woody? So he called, because she knew John Woody from different auctions. So she called John Woody, and John drove from Douglas, Kansas, out to East Alton, Illinois to pick up the plate, and he sold it to a young man by the name of Tom Ordini. Right? And Tom sold it. Was it last year, Tom? Last year, Tom had it, and I think it went to Carlton, didn't he? Carlton bought the thing. But I called to get the history on this thing, and maybe she'd had my address or my phone number, maybe she would have called me. I don't know. But through that same party, the Poppy Show plate in Aquopal was found. Yeah. The next, the little plate down there, I'll tell you a quick story on that. Just got to get a little drink of water here. They won't ask me to do this again, folks, so you're lucky. That's a little blackberry wreath plate. It has a big one and 6 little ones. That plate, I have 4 of them, actually. I got 2 marigolds and 2 amethysts. We have. And this marigold one, Don Doyle was having collecting. The lady is Lucille Lau. A lot of people know who Lucille Lau is from Kilbuck, Ohio. Lucille Lau found 4 of them, 2 marigolds and 2 amethysts, and she sold them. No, 1 marigold and 3 amethysts, I'm sorry. And she sold one of them to Don Doyle. Don said, I think she'd sell the other one. Well, Don didn't know she had 3 more. So I called her, and yeah, she had 3 more, but I'm not going to ship it. So I had to drive all the way out to Kilbuck, Ohio, to get my little plate. And got out there and got the plate, and I said, what are you going to do with the other 2? She said, well, those are going to go to my daughter. And I said, but I'll give you $2.75 each for them, for the other 2. She says, don't you know I don't have a daughter? So I got all 3 of them. The next one is a little blackberry bark vase, 3rd one known now. There was one, Eldon Bixler's mom, that belonged to Mabel Bixler from Wadsworth, Ohio, and she passed away and her spoils were divided up, and this one went to her son out in California. Do you know who that would be out there, Bixler? And anyway, so I met Eldon, and I said, if you ever get ready to sell that little vase, I would sure love to have it. Well, one day, at the American Carnival Glass Convention, Eldon flagged me down and said, hey, I got something in the room you'd like to see, I'll bet you. And over there, and there he had that beautiful little blackberry bark vase. And I was able to buy it from him. It's one of my treasures. But here, a month or so ago, or 3 months ago, one sold at auction, 8, I believe it was, Mavis, got $10,800. And the other one is owned by George Thomas. And Don Moore had that one, and it flares out at the top, shaped exactly the same way as that one there. That's it, isn't it, Mavis? Oh, the little punch cup. Tell you a story about this little, here, honey. Different little talks I've been asked to give. That little punch cup is my treasure. Don Moore, bless his heart, used to call me at least once a week, and usually twice a week, and he found this and asked me questions, and we'd share all the time. And one day he called, and he told Mavis he'd found this Aquopal punch cup, and I just love Aquopal. And he wanted to talk to me. Mavis said, he won't talk. And I told Mavis, I'm not talking to him. I said, so I get that punch cup, then I'll talk to him again. And don't you know, 3 days later in the mail, that punch cup was there. And he gave it to me. He's the only one in Carnival Glass that's ever given me anything. Tom Mordini has given me time a lot of times. But that don't count for much. Now, the little spittoon. That little spittoon, I got a picture excuse me. I got a picture from a lady out in Brinkhaven, Ohio. And this was sold at a household auction in back of the Millersburg Courthouse in Millersburg, Ohio. And it wasn't for sale. So Mavis and I went out there one time looking to Millersburg. We'd been there many times. And so we went out to see her, and here she had that beautiful little spittoon. And I tried to buy it from her, and everything I knew how to do, including they had 2 big dogs that had hair that long on them. And they had, and they weren't brushed out, I don't think. And I got down on my hands and knees begging her to sell that spittoon, and it didn't work. I thought, that's got to work. It's worked before. But it didn't work. So I'm brushing her off, and I said, so we left town, we'd been to Kildabuck, Ohio, and there's a phone there by the Standard Oil station, so I called her, and I said, Esther, why wouldn't you sell me that spittoon? She said, you didn't offer me enough money for it. I said, what does it take to own it? $100 more, she was sold to me. And I had a 1984 Dodge van, and they'll do 190. They really will. A little slower on the curves. But she sold that to me. I was so happy to get it. Well, yesterday, you see, the worm keeps turning all the time. Yesterday, I was talking to a man that had maybe 2 or 3 pieces of Carnival glass in his life. And he wanted to show me something. So, just bring it over here, Mavis. He wanted to show me a little something. He found another spittoon. And that's same pattern, only in marigold. Isn't that a little beauty? And it's for sale. Unfortunately, I can't afford it right now. But if anybody's interested in it, I'll give you one guess who found it. Just one guess. Who found that marigold spittoon? Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Tom Mordini. But Tom just brought that in yesterday, or when he came in and shared it with me. I thought it was so pretty. I think it's beautiful. So, any questions? Oh.
Who made the Adams picture?
Dugan. Dugan. Yeah, the funny thing about that picture, I'm glad you asked, because I got 2 more minutes left here. Carl Burns called me, and he had every known pattern of Dugan, except and including he had the it's like a goblet, it's not a tumbler. I think Carl Burns has a couple of, Carl, you still have a couple that'll match it. You did have them. Anyway, I said, well, the only thing I have in that is this picture. And he'd been looking for one, couldn't find one. So I said, the picture that's in his book is that picture of that picture. Yeah, that's a Dugan piece. Yeah, yeah. It came out of a shop up near where I live. Anything else? Yes.
Our green one is home.
And what, honey?
He wanted to know if this was the green. That's not base. The green one. No.
No, that's the purple one. There, in the green one, there's no big story about that. That was at a Woody auction. That's why I didn't bring it along. It's not the same mold. This here has a smooth bottom on it, and the green one has a rope. It's a cable. Yeah, they're not the same mold. They're not the same mold at all. Yeah, and the other green one, Don Mordecani found it, I believe, and now George Thomas owns it. Yeah, I think it's got something wrong with it, but it's got a crack in it. Big stinking deal. Is yours perfect? People say, well, gee, that's got a nick on it. Well, why don't you sell me yours? I'd love to have a perfect one. No. But anyway, that's the only 2 green ones that I know about. Yeah. Anything else? That blackberry, that came, the one that, straight here, the one that just recently sold, it was told to me that it was in a household sale, that there was only 4 or 5 pieces of Carnival glass. The stories get all goofed up. It was not 4 or 5 pieces. It was a whole bunch of Carnival glass in there. Because Steve Mott was there, and Steve bid on it. It's something, I guess 100 and some pieces of Carnival. But that blackberry bark vase, one like that was in there. And that brought 10.8. So, yeah. Oh, that was not for sale.
Would you be interested in sharing with a fellow Carnival glass collector your little black book with names, addresses, and something?
What do you say, honey?
I'd like to have your black book of addresses and names when you're done with it.
You want my little black book?
Yes, sir.
I sold that. Hey, how do you think Mordini does so well? We were able to upgrade in our lifestyle after I sold that book. Yeah, it's all. No, that's been the fun of the hobby. Like Carl Schrader and I were talking, and it's nice to buy one at auction, and I honestly wish I could afford it, but unfortunately we can't. To me, it's a big thrill to dig something out. I was in the life insurance business for 44 years, and now that I didn't have 5 people knocking my door in 44 years, wondering, can I have some of that? You had to go dig it out. And that's what I enjoy so much about the Carnival hobby. It's the fun digging it out. And you can say, well, you know, and there's times, there's pieces here, Tom's got pieces I'd love to have, other ones do. I can't afford them. Can you buy that plate today for $400? Can you buy this strawberry bowl today for $165? Can you buy that one for $220? It doesn't exist. So, but it's a different era too that we're in. It's a whole different ball game. So, oh, Bob, I've taken about a half hour of your time. Is that okay?
That's right, you just keep on another half hour.
If anybody's got any questions, I'd be glad to lie or answer them. I mean. What's she saying, honey? Am I married? What time she want to meet me tonight? Hey, that reminds me of something, lady. Midnight, you didn't show up. She says, this will be nicer later, or something like that. And I thought, what's she talking about?
She said you've talked about all the ways you found this glass, but how many miles and how many phone calls did it take you to? You know, it's not like it just
2 or 3 here and there. And well, listen, I'm not buying cars anymore. My poor old Pinto wore out. Poor thing. Yeah, it took a lot of miles, but it's always been for fun. I'll be 73 years old, the Lord willing, this June sometime? Yeah. I don't know how a man could have so much fun doing something and meet so many nice people as you can in Carnival glass. We've always got something in common, and you've got things that I'd love to have, and probably vice versa. You can't be, but it's fun to enjoy what we have and what you have and so on. It's been, those words can't explain it. I don't know if anybody's been collecting much longer than we have, but we've got to be up there somewhere amongst the first ones in 1965. And a lot of people back in the old days, so to speak, have gone on and they've left their mark here too, you know. But there's been a lot of it. They've made this hobby. They've made this hobby. People think today, you know, they don't know what it's like from what it was years ago. They have no idea. Is that right, Bob?
That's right.
Yeah, they've made it. Yeah. Anything else? I'd sure like to answer questions. I got 2 more minutes. You did?
I'd like to just say thank you for sharing all your stories with us. I remember personally Chuck Kramer sitting in our house and sharing stories, and I'm so sorry he's not with us to share more. And so this is such a great honor.
Thank you.
To be here.
Thank you, Dee. Well, this wasn't easy for me, I'm going to tell you, but it's the love of the hobby. And the president was our president, because I'm also a member of this club too. There's nothing I wouldn't do to accommodate him. He's always so good to accommodate me and all the rest of the people here. So we're very lucky to have Bob Grissom as our president. So I think that Bob, she's all yours, buddy. Oh, that's my name. If I get lost on it, that's me who I am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, George and Mavis. I know that it was a tremendous effort, but we do appreciate it, and I think the audience expressed their appreciation to you. So even though he didn't pay much for this glass, I don't think he would sell it for the same price. So it isn't, as he explained, it isn't cheap glass. So please be careful and don't pick up the glass, and it's his, and let him chip it if he wants to. We don't need to do that. Would like to just say one thing. Judy asked me to say that the Southern California and the San Diego Club combined are selling they're going to reissue the Butler Brothers catalog. If anybody would like to have a copy, you can see them. They do not want the money now. They just like to see what interest there is in that before they try to reissue it. I'm sure it isn't, unless they have an interest, they're not going to go out and run out and print up 1,000 copies of that. So if you're interested in that, see Judy or Gail. Both of them. Either one of them will be glad to take your order, and they just like to know what the interest is, and then they'll know what action to take.